Hello everyone, myself Purushotham, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, MLR IT. In this session, I am going to discuss about super method. So, this is the overview of this session. So, first I will explain the super method usage and next I will explain some sample example. Okay. So, let us get started the session. So, super method is used to call super class constructor or parent class constructor. So, using super method we can call the constructor, means the parent class constructor we can call. So, super method call must be inside constructor only. Okay. So, no other method is allowed to call. So, compulsory the super method must be part of the constructor. Okay. And the super method must be called the child class constructor only. And whenever you are using the super method in the constructor, and make sure that must be first statement. Okay. So, suppose if you are writing the super method in a second line or third line or last line, so it will throw compile time error. So, super method must be the first statement inside a constructor. So, this is the one rule. And using super method we can call the parent class constructor. Same the way, using this method we can call the current class constructor. Okay. So, this method and super methods are used to call the constructor only. Okay. Using this we can call the current class constructor, using super we can call the parent class constructor. Now, suppose if you want to use this method and super method simultaneously, it is not possible. Why? Means this method must be first statement inside a constructor and super method must be first statement inside a constructor. Okay. So, suppose here I have a class, the class is A. Okay. Now, here A constructor, here I will use both this and super. Assume this I am using first and super I am using second. Now, what will happen? So, as per the rule, this must be first line of the constructor. Okay. So, here I am writing the first line. But the same rule is applicable for the super method also. Now, the super is the second now. Okay. Now, it is invalid. So, usage of this and super is not possible at a time. Either you can use this method or you can use a super method, but both are not possible. Okay. If both are using inside a constructor, it will lead to compile time error. Okay. So, now we will see all these rules programmatically one by one. So, super method is used to call the super class constructor. Okay. So, as I mentioned here, I have two classes, the parent class and the child classes, and the parent class, this one is the parent class constructor. As we know that constructor name and the class name must be same. So, this is the constructor. So, this constructor is having a simple statement parent class constructor. Okay. Now, here I have a child class constructor. Now, the class name is the child and the child class constructor. Now, inside a child class, I am using the super method. Now, what will happen here means, here you are using super method. So, whenever you are creating object to the child class, so constructor will be trigger. So, constructor will be called. Inside a constructor, the first statement is a super method. Okay. Super method means immediately it will execute what the parent class constructor. So, here it will print the parent class constructor. So, compulsory super method must be called inside child class constructor only. So, all these points again I will explain programmatically. Now, next point. So, super must be first statement in the constructor. Okay. So, suppose here I have a program. In the program, I have one constructor, child class constructor. Now, the child class constructor already is having one statement. After this statement, last I am writing what? A super method. Now, what will happen means, here the rule is violating. The super method, as we know that the usage of super method must be inside a constructor and that must be first line. Okay. But here that rule is violating. So, here it will throw compile time error. This is not allowed, it will throw error. So, it is not correct. Here it will get the compile time error. Next, super method call must be inside a constructor only. No other method is allowed to call. Okay. So, as we know that, so using super method we can call the parent class constructor, and that must be what we need to call only inside a constructor. Okay, so suppose here I am calling this super method other than the constructor. So M1 is a normal method, M1 is a normal method, you can see the method is having the return type also, it's a normal method, and in normal method I am trying to call the super. Okay, this is not allowed, this is not allowed, as we know that the super method must be called inside a constructor only, but here we are calling inside a normal method, so this is not allowed. Here you will also get what the compile time error, so this is invalid. Next, so as I mentioned, this method and super method must call inside a constructor, but at a time only one is allowed to call either this or super, means simultaneously this method and super method usage is not possible. Either you can use this method or we can use a super method. So here you can see this method we are writing the first and the super method next statement. So here violating the rule. So suppose if I replace, means if I write super first, then after I will write this. Now what will happen? This will be okay, but super will be okay, but this will be error. Okay, so usage of this method and the super method simultaneously is not possible. Here also we will get error. So here I have one program. So here the person class is there and the student class is there, and the person and the student both are in the parent and child relation, and the person is having one constructor and it is initializing two members, and student is a person. So these two are in the easy relation, means parent and child relation, means the student can access the parent class members also. So here apart from the name and age, student is having email and mobile number. Okay, now so internally student also having name and age, so no need to write this code name and age here. Okay, so directly we can access from the parent class. So how to access means, here I am created a constructor, here I am creating a constructor. Inside a constructor I am passing name, age and email and what mobile number. Okay, so email and mobile number now we can initialize within the student constructor, but name and ID already initialized in the parent class constructor. Why we need to initialize it again? So instead of initializing these values again, so instead of that here we can use a super method. Okay, so here I am using the super method, super of name and age. Now what will happen? So here the parent class constructor will be called. So whatever name you are passing, these are the actual values, so this will be replaced here. Okay, these value will be getting initialized. And here in details method I want to call the parent class properties again. So the details of email and mobile number I am printing. Okay, then again I want to print the parent class members. In the parent class also details method is there and it is a printing name and age. Why we need to write again? So simply we can use the parent class properties. So here also details method is there and here also details method is there. Now I want to differentiate that. So here I am using the super dot details. If you are not differentiating the details, again this method only it will call. Okay, so to differentiate these methods, here I am using what? The super keyword. Okay, so again the same points, again I will explain the programmatically. Here I will take the class name as a person, and here I will take the class name as a student. Now, so assume the person is having some properties, like he is having properties like name and so int age. Now these values I want to initialize. So to initialize, so constructor is the best recommended area. So here I will initialize name and int age. So this dot name equals to name. Next this dot age equals to age. Now I want to print these details. Public void print details. Now I want to print name. I want to print age. Right now, person is having these two values and name and age. Now the age, name and age is initialized within the constructor and I am printing in the print details method. Okay. Now, so exactly same here. So apart from name and age, I have one more, two more members like email, next string mobile number, assume. So I have two more data members, like I want to initialize these values within the student constructor. So here I am initializing. So this dot email equals to email and this dot mobile equals to mobile. Right now, and I want to print these details, and I will print the details also here. Here we need to print email and email and mobile number and mobile. Okay. Now, so if you create object to the student class, so it will initialize only email and mobile. Okay. I want to initialize name and age also. Okay. But the name and age already initialized by the parent class constructor. Why we need to initialize it again? So here what I will do means I will initialize in student constructor only. So here I will take name and int age I will take. Now why we need to initialize here? The two values email and mobile number already initialized within the student. So the remaining two int age, name and age I want to initialize here. Just call the super method here. The super method I will pass name and super method I will pass age. Now what will happen means, whenever you are creating object of the student class, immediately this constructor will be triggered, and in this constructor super method will be executed and the super method will be initialize this name and age value. Okay. Now whenever you are printing these values, name and age will get initialized. Okay. And after initializing what name and age and email and mobile number will be initialized. Okay. So if you are calling the print details, now here it will print only email and mobile number. Now what if I want to call what the parent class members? So here we need to use what the print details, like super dot print details, right? Now here I want to create object to the student class. Student S equals to new student. Now here the student is expecting what the name. So here I will pass the name is Ram, and in age is 25, and email is ram@gmail. And the mobile number, so I will give some dummy mobile number. Now, so whenever you are creating object of the student, now what will happen means the student class constructor will be triggered. Okay, and name you are passing Ram and age you are passing 25. So name will be replaced here, name will be replaced here, and that will be initialized here. Means these values name and age will be get initialized. So name is a Ram and age is a 25. So after that email and mobile number also will get initialized later. So after that here you are printing what the print details. So if you are calling s dot print details, now what will happen means here super dot print details means the parent class print details method will be called. It will print what the name and age. After that the remaining two lines code will be executed. Okay, so this is the execution order. You can see here it will print name is Ram and age is a 25, email is a ram@gmail and mobile number is a this one. Okay, so that is a usage of a super method. Okay, so super method must be called inside child class constructor only. Okay, and as I mentioned, if you are calling any other area, like suppose here I am calling, so you will get error. See here, super must be first statement in constructor. And so suppose if you want to call this super method inside a print details method, this is also not allowed. So this is also not allowed. See here, we'll get error. Okay, so compulsory you need to call super method inside a constructor, and that must be first statement inside a constructor. So coming to summary of this session. So here in this session I have explained a super method usage and super method rules. Okay, what are the rules of the super method means? The super method must be called inside a child class constructor, and the super method must be first statement inside a constructor. No other method is allowed to call the super method, and usage of this method and the super method simultaneously is not possible. Okay, so these are the super method and super method rules. Okay, so that's about this session. Thank you.